This is a clip from the Nintendo Village podcast, your weekly half-hour Nintendo show. For the full episode, check out the link in the description.
Well, so to our topic this week, we're obviously going to be talking about Animal Crossing because it's all anyone's talking about right now. But rather than just singing its praises, because we've done that plenty of times already, we're going to pick hairs because, we're nice, negative people on this show. And we're going to choose some things that we feel a game could do a little bit better or areas that we think it could improve upon. I did mention a few of these in my review on site. I did a review diary for the past 2 weeks. I added a final score to that this week, which was 5 stars. I think the game's fantastic. Let's get that disclaimer out of the way before we start pulling it to bits. So go and check that out. But Gary, we'll start with you, seeing as though you're just starting out. What areas have you identified, or where's the first point of contention for you?
Yeah, so for me, Animal Crossing's also been fantastic, right? I've been really enjoying it. I've said it's a much better version than the previous ones that have been around. Even New Leaf, I think this has got some stuff that just keeps each day feeling a bit more fresh. But yeah, again, there is a few things that I would improve, and some of them are actually new things that are in there as well. So one of the things that I think could be improved is some of the tools that you get, like you get the pole vault and the ladder to go up on your different mountain
cliffs.
What am I saying?
Yeah,
to get up the hills and stuff, right? I think that some of them could be automated. So when you go to the water, it should be an option to press or hold A and then it use itself. Much in the way that Pokemon did with the HMs, right? Where you walk up to a water and you had to select it, which you're doing on Animal Crossing now. They automated that. So you walk up to the water, press A, you would instantly be surfing. I think that Animal Crossing can get a bit irritating sometimes with selecting tools. So taking those two alone off would be an improvement. And I know later on they do sort it out in the game by letting you build stairs and letting you build bridges and stuff like that. But it's still one of those things that just that little bit of quality of life thrown in there would definitely go a long way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. It can be a pain, especially if you're doing the run around the island, shaking all the trees and hitting the rocks at the beginning of the day. There's a bit of a blag to have to switch to get your net out to see if there's a wasp. Then you've got to cross over the river, so you get your vaulting pole out. Then you need to climb up the cliff, so you need to get your ladder out. That is a bit of a pain in the backside, I'll agree. My first pick is the crafting. I actually really like the crafting in the game. It was my one sort of question mark going into it. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it or not, and I tend to be hit or miss on crafting mechanics in games in general. But absolutely love it in Animal Crossing. I think it's fantastic. My only point of contention with it is that you can't batch craft. And when I was hunting down the stringfish at the end of March and I needed to make 20, 30 pieces of bait, having to go back into the menu every single time was such a blag. And it took me 5 or 10 minutes just to craft the damn bait, never mind doing any fishing. So, if I've got enough materials in my inventory to craft 20 things, then it should ask me if I want to craft 20 things. In the same way that, I think even in New Leaf, if you had 10 apples in your inventory and you went to sell one of them to Timmy and Tommy and they say, oh, I see you've got 10 there, would you like to sell them all? Just something like that, which, maybe they can do it in an update, I don't know. You would hope that they can. I think that would go a long way to making the crafting experience totally smooth and seamless.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That was actually one of the first things on my list as well. And there's actually something that goes hand in hand with that, which is the eating. On it, you can eat fruit and you can eat, now it's Easter, you can eat the eggs as well. I wish there was an option to just eat 10, instead of one at a time, because again, that becomes a little bit tedious when you want to just fill it up because you're going to shovel up a load of trees. And
but then your character would get indigestion. You'd have to take a Rennie or something.
Well, yeah, that's another feature, right? But I too enjoy the crafting, and I don't mind that the tools break. I actually think it adds that little layer of depth in the same way that Zelda did. People would complain about them breaking, but at the end of the day, it makes the game more fun. You have something else to do.
Yeah, same. I didn't mind the weapons breaking in Breath of the Wild at all, to be honest. I didn't quite understand why everyone was moaning about that so much.
Yeah, and the same with you. If you sell stuff, some things when you buy or sell will give you the option to buy batches, but then it only gives you the option of 5. And the same with selling. I do wish that you could just toggle it to say up or down. And there is places in the game that does it. Like when you're using the banking service, you can deposit all your money. Like it gives you that option, deposit all. So that would be nice to add that in, because sometimes you don't want to sell the group of 10 cherries that you got. You might just want to sell 5, but you have to separate them by 1, and then, you know. So yeah, there is a few little niggles like that I've got as well. So anything else that you'd like to see upgraded or improved upon?
I mean, the main thing for me, really, my only other sort of point of contention with the game is there seems that whilst there's a lot more in it in terms of, you know, functionality and what you could do with the island, and, you know, so you can put furniture everywhere and all the different things you could do, fences and paths and all that kind of stuff. It does seem to be missing some stuff that was in like New Leaf and things. So like, there's obviously a lot fewer shops. You have Nook's Cranny and you have the Able Sisters, and that's it. So, you know, there's no Katrina in a fortune teller tent. There's no cafe as yet. There's no police station, things like that. There's no hairdresser, obviously, although there's obviously no need for it. But there's no recycle place. So like, and a lot of those characters are missing as well. So like Harriet, Reese and Cyrus, Dr. Shrunk, all those kind of things. Like, it's a lot more anemic in that sense in terms of the key characters and different buildings that go along with them. So I do miss some of that quite a lot, I must admit. And it makes you sad because, like, when part of the excitement going into it was like, oh great, I can build like this whole like town centre kind of bit, and it can be all hustle and bustle, and I can have all the shops and everything in one place. And now it's just kind of 2 shops and the resident services, and that's kind of it. So that's a bit sad. But again, like, I'm kind of like scrabbling around trying to find things to criticize, to be honest, because outside of that, and it feels mean-spirited to say like, oh, there's not enough in the game, but like, I want more of these things when there's so much in it already. So I'm other than that, like, I'm good, but it is a bit sad not to see some of those faces, especially like even Rover at the start. Like, you know, he's introduced to every Animal Crossing game ever so far, except this one. It's the first time he's not there. Even like just having him chatting on the plane on the way in would have been cool, but there you go.
Yeah, and for me, there's a couple more things. One of them is the online, which, I mean, Nintendo does online fantastic, right? But we went to this event the weekend, and there was a lot of us there, and for some reason, it doesn't want to accept you to go to that other island if someone's in a conversation. And rather than queuing you up and like waiting for a gap to be there, it does this thing where it'll just boot you off and say like, no, there's an error with the phone, you can't go. And then you'll ask you if you want to retry, you retry, and it boots you out again. You retry, it boots you out again. And it becomes this like tedious, like, when am I going to go onto the island? And then eventually it'll work. And then the same for when you leave, which you really don't understand. Like, rather than the character just go in and everybody get a notification, you have to wait for everyone to finish their conversation before you can leave the island. It will not let you do it until no one is talking. And when there's a lot of you in that same gaming session, that doesn't give you much of a window of opportunity to get in or out of the island. And I found myself getting really frustrated by it, because even though you might only be there a minute or two, it feels like forever, because you're just watching this waiting screen, waiting for you to get off. And it just becomes like boring almost, right? It actually kind of puts you off your play session a little bit, because you spend so long waiting to get in and out the island that when you're there, you're already in a bad mood.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what? That's just reminding me, there is like one other little niggle. And again, it's only a little niggle, but I've got to mention it because it does black my head sometimes. The loading times are really long. Yeah. It takes a long time to get into the game. It takes longer than it should going in and out of buildings and stuff, I think, sometimes. And yeah, like you say, if you're going online and you're going on flights and things like that, there's a lot of waiting around.
Yeah, and I mean, we all hope that some of these stuff will get patched in or out, right? We don't know what's coming. It could be taking a Splatoon and ARMS approach where they could be adding more stuff throughout the season. We already know that some of the events are locked behind like actual downloads, so you can't just go in and do stuff. You have to actually wait until that season comes, which I think is genius on Nintendo's behalf. But I do hope that they sort of add more to it over the years, like they did with New Leaf. I mean, okay, it was like one big download years after. I hope that they have a steady thing. Like, I would be happy if they added one thing every season, every 6 months maybe, and just keep this game rolling and improving and stuff like that, eventually we could have more campsites come in. We could have, other services, like boats and things like that, because there's an empty dock, right, with nothing there. So I think it goes from both of us that we just hope for more stuff eventually and more things to do. And these niggles are only little niggles, right? The game is perfectly fine as it is, but there is always something that can be critiqued and always something that can be improved upon. And we just have faith that Nintendo can hopefully fix some of these minor issues in this version and then look for more improvements on the next.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, check out some of our other videos, and visit thenintendovillage.com, your home for everything Nintendo.